Prime Minister, Dr. Robert Abela, Leader of the Opposition, Dr. Alex Borg, Judge Emeritus Zammit McKeon, ladies and gentlemen, members of the Association of the Mediterranean Ombudsman, distinguished guests, colleagues. As Rapporteur, it is my privilege to provide a summary of our key decisions and discussions and outcomes over the past 2 days on the theme, Upholding Good Governance in Challenging Times, the Role of the Ombudsman. We have heard invaluable perspectives that together highlight the importance of the Ombudsman. The Parliamentary Ombudsman of Malta reminded us of the heart of the mission, protecting citizens in their everyday interactions with the state. While the office is no longer new, I quote, "It does not have an expiry date. It remains a dynamic guardian of fairness, rights, and accountability. It is not a toothless institution and not a burden on the public purse. Its strength lies not in coercive power, but in the moral authority and credibility of its recommendations, which help shape a fairer and more transparent public administration. When the office weakens, public trust and good governance erode. The Ombudsman serves not only as a protector of rights, but as a constructive force, rebuilding trust and promoting good governance. The People's Advocate of Albania and the President of the AOM emphasized that good administration is more than a managerial standard. It is a fundamental right and the moral bridge between citizens and the state. Closing the gap between law in principle and law in practice remains an ongoing challenge. The urgent need to defend the rule of law, democracy, and human rights, especially in times of fragile global order, was stressed. I quote the Speaker of the House, "These are defining times. Ombudsmen must resist unjust authority, uphold professional ethics, and defend truth. Courage, vigilance, and solidarity are essential to safeguarding freedom. Do we have the courage of conviction?" Nelson Mandela. Again, I quote, "Not to comfort the powerful, but to confront them. Not to echo governments, but to speak with one voice of the people when all other voices are ignored." The importance of citizen participation, transparency and accountability, even under pressure to simplify or speed up government processes, was emphasized. In times where power hesitates, the Ombudsman must not. The Speaker reminded us that the Ombudsman is an independent guardian of truth, justice, and human dignity, calling on Parliament to protect independence and ensure that recommendations are acted upon. Across these interventions, common lessons emerged. The Ombudsman is an independent guardian of rights, accountability, and good governance, especially in times of crisis. Its strength lies in integrity, moral authority, and courage, not coercive power or popularity. Transparency, citizen participation, and clear communication are essential for trust, while vigilance and solidarity are crucial in defending the rule of law. Cross-border collaboration strengthens human rights, ethical leadership, and justice. The Ombudsman remains a timeless pillar of democracy. Following these speeches, 4 panel discussions built on these insights. They provided rich perspectives on the challenges and opportunities facing Ombudsman institutions today. They highlighted the importance of the Ombudsman as both a safeguard of democracy and an agent of change. The first panel, Building People Trust, the Ombudsman as a pillar of democracy in times of change, emphasized that public trust is the cornerstone of democracy. Fragile in times of political, social, or technological upheaval, independence, impartiality, and accessibility are essential. As was noted, Even respected institutions face declining trust, making the Ombudsman's role more vital than ever in providing access to justice and promoting systemic improvements. We must also communicate the Ombudsman's tangible impact, the lives improved, the system reformed, the accountability achieved to promote trust and legitimacy. The second panel, Safeguarding Fundamental Rights, the Ombudsman in the Face of New Challenges, highlighted the evolving context Ombudsman must address: digitization, artificial intelligence, migration, and climate policy. Protecting rights must be proactive, identifying risks before they cause systemic harm. Ombudsmen act as both guardians of fairness and advocate for vulnerable populations, working alongside national human rights institutions to ensure transparency, accountability, and protection. For Malta and Italy and Romania, establishing an independent national human resource institution was identified as a crucial step. We also examined the Ombudsman's role in protecting vulnerable groups. Offices from Monaco, Azerbaijan to Georgia support persons with disabilities, older adults, women, prisoners, children, and conflict-affected populations. In Ukraine, the Ombudsman plays a crucial role in responding to unlawful deportation of children, demonstrating how oversight, advocacy, and coordination are essential during crisis. The third panel focused on ethical governance and the Ombudsman's role in upholding the principles of integrity, fairness, and accountability in public administration. Speakers emphasized that ethical governance is not only a managerial standard, it is the foundation of public trust and the moral duty of the state. I quote, "The lack of trust is the greatest threat to human society in the 21st century." A powerful warning from the Auditor General, reminding us that without trust, democratic institutions falter and social cohesion unravels. Discussions highlighted that Ombudsman institutions play a key role in strengthening integrity across government, ensuring that decisions are made transparently, impartially, and in accordance with the law. Institutions like the Ombudsman's Office, Commissioner for Standards in Public Life, National Audit Office, should be considered as giving a public service rather than focusing on power or feared by. By promoting accountability, scrutinizing maladministration, and recommending systemic reforms, Ombudsmen help prevent corruption, reinforce ethical behavior, and ensure that public services are delivered fairly to all citizens. Participants stressed that integrity is not maintained by rules alone, but require continuous vigilance, professional ethics, and moral courage. Ombudsmen must show leadership, challenge practices that compromise fairness, and guide administrations to adopt higher standards of government. Another speaker rightly observed, in short, ethical public governance is about governing with values, not just rules. The fourth panel focused on embracing technological innovation, the Ombudsman's role in the age of digitization and artificial intelligence. This panel examined how digital technologies and artificial intelligence are transforming public administration and the Ombudsman's role. Digitization and AI offer unprecedented opportunities. They can improve access to information, strengthen public service delivery, and facilitate citizen engagement. Several mechanisms are already in use or emerging to help the Ombudsman institutions operate more effectively in the digital era. AI-powerful tools are enabling early detection of systemic issues, complaints, and trend analysis to support investigations and policy recommendations. Digital platforms, such as the Barcelona IDEM project, are simplifying information, bridging language barriers, and enabling participatory governance, especially for older adults, migrants, and marginalized groups. One innovative approach is the concept of the Ombudsman Agent, an AI-supported digital assistant designed to interact with citizens, provide guidance, answer queries, and facilitate the complaint submission process. This agent can help accessibility and responsiveness. However, technology also brings risks. Algorithmic bias, exclusion, surveillance, and digital inequality. Ombudsmen must ensure that AI and digital tools do not undermine human dignity, privacy, or access to justice. To this end, Ombudsman institutions are beginning to adapt accountability mechanisms that ensure compliance with human rights, transparency, and data protection requirements. These can include these algorithmic audits, impact assessments, digital ethics frameworks, and independent oversight boards. Across panels, one theme was clear. Ombudsman institutions are more than complaint handlers. They are guardians of democracy, champions of fairness, and pillars of citizen trust. In times of crisis or rapid transformation, their role is crucial in ensuring that public institutions remain transparent, responsive, and accountable. Looking ahead, Ombudsman institutions must not only adapt to changing contexts, but shape them, integrating moral authority, human judgment, and AI-powered tools to detect systemic risks early, engage citizens meaningfully, and ensure fairness across increasing complex systems of governance. We must also invest in Ombudsman 2030, a vision of institutions that are tech-enabled, youth-engaged, globally connected, and locally trusted. In conclusion, our discussions have reaffirmed a timeless truth. Independent, courageous, and adaptable ombudsman institutions are essential for democracy. They protect rights, increase accountability, champion transparency, and ensure that no voice is left unheard, especially in times of change. Let us leave here not only informed, but inspired to defend the truth, empower the voiceless, and ensure that justice never becomes a forgotten promise. Thank you. I now invite our host, the Parliamentary Ombudsman of Malta, Judge Joseph Zammit McKeon, for his concluding address. Thank you.
Honorable Prime Minister, Honorable Leader of the Opposition, Excellencies, colleagues, distinguished guests, good afternoon. We have listened and dwelt on the various aspects that make the theme of this conference. I thank all the speakers for their exceptional presentations. The defense of justice is a universal benchmark that should guide us in the difficult times we are experiencing. Within the framework of our mandate, as ombudsmen and/or human rights institutions, insistence on our part on the application of the principles of good governance is of paramount importance. In principle, upholding good governance should not be a matter of dispute. The problem is translating principle into fact. Good governance should include, to my mind, transparent, and participatory decision-making processes that leave no interested party out. Accountable and responsive exercise of power that follows proper conduct and rules. The rule of law, not a scarecrow, nor a slogan, but the real thing. That is the fair and non-discriminatory application of the law in a manner that does not allow it to be sidelined or forgotten for any reason, including expediency. Effectiveness by serving the public efficiently. Equity and inclusiveness, justice in its true sense. Our institutions have made a positive difference in the lives of people by rejecting unfair treatment and discrimination, and by proposing improvements in the delivery of public services. The Ombuds institution in Malta has witnessed an increased acknowledgement by public servants that the office is not there to create problems for them. Public servants who view their job as an offer of service contribute significantly towards the common good, despite objective difficulties. Those officials who view their status as a position from where to wield power will learn by experience that such an approach is short-lived, because public opinion will at the end of the day hold all to account. A public administration that is overseen by an independent and impartial institution should not be viewed as an operational hindrance. It is in the interest of all to believe that there is a constitutional office like the Ombudsman that is willing to listen and act without any barriers of any sort, giving everyone his due, championing material justice and going beyond legal intricacies. A democratic society cannot risk placing public confidence and trust low in its priorities. Mistakes do happen, and many times can be remedied, provided there is good faith and the honesty to admit mistakes, not necessarily in public. A culture of accountability allows for whatever requires correction. Our times, we have already said and repeated, are difficult and uncertain. Human humiliation in all its forms is not past history, but has become a crime of universal dimensions. Humiliation destroys hope. We have an obligation to denounce human humiliation worldwide by upholding human dignity, the inherent worth that belongs to every person, regardless of who they are or what they are, from where do they come. Against humiliation, we must react by affirming respect wherever every human being is seen, heard, and valued. Governance frameworks need to reaffirm universal values that should remain the same for all and always. They are the essence of democracy, that whatever it takes cannot be allowed to die in darkness. Quoting the Washington Post. I firmly believe that we are a country, now Malta, I firmly believe that we are a country that is predominantly humane and understanding. We have already proved so many times that we can be a socially responsible society. Nonetheless, we need to be more caring and place the common good as our primary consideration. As a community, we cannot afford to have within us people who are forgotten, or people who have never had a voice, or people who have lost their voice. We have to strive to be more of a society where the rights of persons are not only respected, but that they have institutions that are there to defend them. To conclude, the promotion and protection of human rights is not a luxury, but the foundation of every democratic state. The culture of dialogue and observance of human rights should be the order of the day in any democracy. Human rights will be sidelined as long as people are treated as numbers and not as legitimate holders of rights. The Office of the Ombudsman is there for these people as well. I wish you all the best, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Judge Zammit McKeon. We now move to the concluding segment of the conference. I introduce the Honourable Alex Borg, Leader of the Opposition, for the concluding address.
Prime Minister, Excellencies, Parliamentary Ombudsman Judge Zammit McKeon, distinguished Ombudsman, esteemed guests. It is an honor to address this international gathering marking 30 years since the establishment of Malta's Ombudsman, an institution that has become a cornerstone of our democracy. 3 decades ago, Malta took an important step by enshrining the Ombudsman in law. In 2007, we strengthened that step by entrenching it in our constitution. Today, we meet again to renew that commitment, to defend good governance in challenging times, and to ask ourselves what the role of the Ombudsman must play in the next chapter of our democratic society. We are living through an age of testing turbulence, digital disruption, social fragmentation, economic uncertainty, and the rising tide in distrust. Across the world, and yes, even in Europe, we are witnessing system democratic backsliding, or a President Balanka mentions this quite clearly in the working document of this conference, a rule of law of recession. Checks and balances are stained. Oversight is too often seen as an obstacle rather than a safeguard. In these challenging times, good governance cannot be reduced to a slogan or a bureaucratic checklist. It must be a moral compass. It must be the daily discipline of doing the right thing, even when no one is watching. The Ombudsman stands precisely at the intersection between the citizen and the state, between rights and responsibility, between the letter of the law and its living spirit. Its moral authority, not its coercive power, is its greatest strength. Yet, moral authority alone is not enough when governments systematically ignore recommendations, delay replies, or sidestep accountability. That is why, as leader of the opposition, I want to reaffirm my conviction that the Ombudsman must be strong, independent, and effective. This is not a matter of political convenience. It is a matter of democratic survival. In my campaign for the leadership election of my party, I have reiterated that the Ombudsman should be empowered to ensure that his recommendations are implemented and not merely noted. Citizens must not be left in a position where redress is promised but never delivered. The Ombudsman's word must carry institutional weight. Parliament must either act upon the Ombudsman's findings or explain publicly why it refuses to do so. Silence can no longer remain an option. In this regard, the recent published Ombudsman 2026 provides an invaluable framework for a strengthened office by calling for the dedication of a select committee of the House of Representatives on the public administration. It reaffirms an objective of the opposition filed back in July 2022, so that the Ombudsman reports are systematically addressed by Parliament. Such a committee would debate and follow up on the Ombudsman's reports, ensuring that no recommendations disappear into a procedural void. This proposal deserves our full parliamentary support. We also recognize the need for adequate resources, modern tools, and technological capability to help the Ombudsman fulfill its expanding mandate. Artificial intelligence and digital systems, when used responsibly, can assist the office to assess complaints swiftly and transparently, ensuring consistency and accessibility for every citizen, not just those with means or influence. Empowering the Ombudsman must go hand in hand with broadening its remit. As opposition, we strongly believe in the vital importance of the Ombudsman's role as guardian of good administration. Let us be clear, the best laws and the finest institutions mean little if they are ignored. In Malta, as in many countries, the greatest threat to good governance is not always the absence of rules, but the absence of enforcement. The Ombudsman's recommendations must be binding in spirit, if not in law. Government should not be free to disregard them at will. A culture of accountability, not convenience, must define our institutions. This is why our vision also includes a legal mechanism allowing citizens who benefit from Ombudsman recommendations to enforce them through the courts if the administration fails to comply. This reform would transform the Ombudsman from a moral advisor into an effective guarantor of justice, without compromising the independence of Parliament. Good governance is not achieved only by laws. It is sustained by ethics and courage. As Speaker Farrugia reminded us in his foreword to this conference, the Ombudsman is not there to comfort governments, but to confront them when the rights are violated. That same courage must guide us in every institution, including Parliament and the Ombudsman. We must nurture a culture where power is exercised in service, not self-interest, where transparency is not an exception but a norm, and where truth is never traded by convenience. The Ombudsman, through his perseverance and fearless impartiality, reminds us that integrity in public life is not a luxury. It is indeed a lifeblood of democracy. As we commemorate the 30th anniversary of this institution, let us not merely celebrate its past. Let us reimagine the future of this institution. Let us envision the Ombudsman that speaks truth to power with moral authority and institutional strength, operates transparently with the support of new technology, but guided by timeless principles, and inspires a new generation to see governance not as privilege, but as public trust. In these challenging times, democracy will survive not through speeches or slogans, but through institutions that stand firm, speak clearly, and act justly. The Ombudsman is one such institution, a bridge of trust between citizen and state, and a mirror reflecting the conscience of the citizen. On behalf of the opposition, I reaffirm an unwavering support to this office and for every effort that strengthens it. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Borg, for your speech. We now turn to our final address for this conference. Please welcome the Honourable Robert Abela, Prime Minister of Malta, to deliver the concluding speech. Sorry.
Good afternoon to all. Honourable Mr. Justice Joseph Zammit McKeon, Honourable Leader of the Opposition, Alex Borg, distinguished delegates, excellencies, dear friends. It is, of course, a great honour to be here with you today and to address you on the special occasion marking the 30th anniversary of the establishment of the Office of the Ombudsman in Malta, an institution which, for these last 30 years, has stood as a pillar of fairness, accountability, and openness in our society. This year's theme, upholding good governance in challenging times, goes to the very heart of our work as government. In Malta, particularly in these last recent years, good governance has ceased to be merely an aspirational ideal. It has become an essential element of our democracy and the rule of law that anchors our nation. Like many other countries, Malta has faced times of great challenge and challenges. A global pandemic, which started just a few years ago in 2020. International conflicts, or rather wars, such as that in Ukraine and in the Middle East. Rapid technological transformation and the growing influence of social media, which, while empowering, has also enabled the spread of misinformation. Yet, throughout these uncertain times, our message has remained consistent and clear. Good governance means that every decision must be guided by accountability, fairness, transparency, and respect for human dignity. Good governance is not merely a matter of laws or administrative frameworks. It is a matter of integrity. The integrity that binds together our public administration, our judiciary, our autonomous institutions, and above all, the Maltese and Godsitten people themselves. For this reason, we, as government, view reform not as a burden upon the state, but as a means to ensure that governance remains transparent, effective, and close to the people that it serves. In recent years, we have taken concrete and tangible steps to strengthen the foundations of good governance and rule of law across the board. Amongst these, and I will mention just a few, we have fostered greater transparency in public appointments, strengthened the independence of the judiciary through a merit-based system of appointments and also promotions, safeguarded by rigid constitutional principles, leading to an increase of more than 40% in the complement of the judiciary, and this over the span of only 3 years. Introduced new mechanisms to enhance public accountability, including legislation on integrity in public life, ensuring that every service delivered by the state is rooted in ethics. These reforms were not, however, undertaken to satisfy any particular institution or entity, but to strengthen the bond of trust that exists between the people and the state of Malta. Good governance is not exercised through superiority or control, but through responsibility, integrity, and openness. The work of the Ombudsman has been a vital part of this democratic evolution, and I have to thank you for that. Over the past 3 decades, this office has served as a bridge between the people and the administration. But as the Maltese saying goes, every bridge has 2 sides. Just as it is the government's duty to listen to and respect the Ombudsman's recommendations, it is equally important that the Office of the Ombudsman acknowledges the significant structural reforms that have taken place, not as concessions free of scrutiny, but as tangible evidence of a nation that continues to strengthen itself through meaningful change and to renew itself at the same time. Constructive criticism is a sign of democratic health, yet it must always and also rest on fairness and proportion. The aim should never be to create division or controversy, but to build trust in these institutions that daily serve our people. Therefore, I encourage and support a relationship founded on cooperation and mutual respect, where the principles of good governance and the result of shared effort rather than trying to have opposing forces. Challenging times call for leadership marked by courage, integrity, and balance. When nations face economic pressures or global uncertainty, it can be tempting to compromise on democratic stability. This government, my government, has chosen the opposite path, a path defined by institutional continuity, a strengthened rule of law, and the conviction that transparency is the strongest form of leadership. Today, Malta's institutions are stronger and more independent and autonomous than ever before. Powers that once rested within government or solely in the hands of the Prime Minister have been distributed amongst Parliament and the President of the Republic, reinforcing the balance and the system of checks and balances of our constitutional order. The processes of scrutiny and consultation that we have introduced in constitutional appointments and the drafting of laws and the governance of public office stand as clear and tangible evidence of a democracy that has grown more robust and definitely and of course not weaker. Good governance does not begin and end in Parliament or in the courts of justice. It is also a matter of mindset, of conviction, a commitment to serving a sovereign nation built on democracy, on the rule of law, and of course on human rights, which are enshrined in our Constitution and in the European Convention of Human Rights, which also forms part of our body of legislation. In such a nation, power does not belong to a few, but is shared among institutions according to their clearly defined constitutional roles. To serve in government is therefore a privilege, but also a solemn responsibility. Malta has every reason to be proud. Despite our small size, the smallest member state within the European Union, the reforms that we have implemented in the last years, in the last 5-10 years, have been recognized by European institutions, including the Venice Commission of the Council of Europe, that we have the privilege to currently chair. When we speak of good governance in challenging times, and we are living in indeed challenging times, we are speaking not only of laws, regulations, and obligations, but more importantly, we are speaking of trust. Trust that is not built with words, but with concrete and tangible action. Trust that the government listens, acts, and remains accountable. Trust that our institutions serve all and not the few. My commitment, our commitment as government is very clear: to continue giving true meaning to good governance. Governance that is felt in people's daily lives, that provides direction and stability, and that places the citizen and the public in general and justice at its very core. That is how we build a future of mature democracy and leadership that is rooted in service towards our people. Malta that empowers rather than hinders its people. Malta that looks ahead to the future with confidence and hope towards continued progress. Thank you all, and I wish you all the very best.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Prime Minister, Honourable Robert Abela, for your speech. I'd also like to extend our gratitude to all our distinguished speakers and participants for their contributions throughout the conference. Before we conclude, I would like to invite everyone on stage for a group photo. Following that, lunch will be served in the foyer. Thank you for making this conference a success.
Don't be sad, don't you cry, just let go of your pain. And when you fall asleep, know tomorrow's a new day. Don't be sad, don't you cry, just let go of your pain. And when you fall asleep, know tomorrow's a new day. Tonight I'm moving like just let go. Just let go. Just let go. Tonight I'm dancing like just let go. Just let go. Just let go. Don't be sad, don't you cry, just let go of your pain. And when you fall asleep, know tomorrow's a new day. Tonight